Welcome to the Hangry Games Arena, where Kelly Brewster, the author of What's Eating You and the host of the Hangry Games, will talk about the trendiest new diets, the tried and the true go-tos, and which one is the best of the best. She's shaking up the weight loss game, and let's get this party started.
Hello. What's up, my Hangry Game Nation? It's so good to be back. I really had a lot of fun last week, and so what we're going to do today is it's a great day to make good food choices, and just very blessed to be here today to empower those that are just ready to kick the emotional monster to the curb and to get some brass tacks with weight loss and overall wellness. Now, what I do know is this: people, and that includes this infomercial queen right here, okay, spend tons of money, limitless time, and vital resources just trying to find that miracle diet, right? Everything but the kitchen sink supplements. And of course, any exercise regimen that's only going to take 10 minutes a day that can give you that beach body, okay? First of all, you can't eat like Uncle Fred and look like a Victoria's Secret model. It does not work, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to discuss the top 25 diets that made the top 25 in 2023 by U.S. News. And it's tons of them. I could spend all 30 minutes, honestly, just listing diets on the market. But we're going to take the top 25, summarize some of them, because some of them we can kind of pair together, But we're going to dig into Paleo, Whole30. We're going to dig into intermittent fasting. We're going to talk about keto, Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, Optavia. We're going to talk about them all. I do want to say this, that I'm going to go over the good, the bad, and a little bit of the ugly, just so everybody we've got fair playing field. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit more about, literally, I really could spend this entire 30 minutes talking just about all the diets out there. Some of them that never made the list, just to let you know. French women don't get fat. There is really literally a diet out like there. We could talk about the macros and micros, because that's a big topic and a big trendy topic in a lot of places. And the crazy thing about eating plans is everybody thinks, those that have put these plans together think that their plan works for everybody. And the fact of the matter is that may not always be the case. And we're going to talk a little bit about that when what we're going to do is we're going to take that curtain, that Wizard of Oz curtain, we're going to pull back that curtain so you can really see who's actually running the show there. And so finally, we're going to try to end that historical, lifelong debate and ask the mirror on the wall, what is the best diet of them all? So we're going to have fun today. You know me, I'm like the Medea of weight loss. So we're going to have fun. We're going to talk. I'm going to, like I said, we may rip up some things, but in all fun, it's in fun, right? It's no time like the present. I'm going to just go ahead and start because we have a lot of topics to cover. According to U.S. News, the number one diet for 2023, now this is according to U.S. News, right, is the Mediterranean diet. Yes, it's pretty cool eating plan. There's no particular calorie restrictions. It's a lot of foods that are very, they're similar to the foods that you find in a lot of European countries. It's places like Greece, Italy, Croatia, Turkey, etc. There's a lot of plant-based foods, so it's going to be a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, legumes, which is kind of like it's like a bean, but beans are basically legumes. Whole grains, nuts, lean poultries, a lot of lean foods. In a nutshell, it is budget friendly. It is family and planet friendly. Now, the problem with the Mediterranean diet is that most people think that, okay, that means that I can have pasta and that I, can eat processed cheese all the time because that's Mediterranean, so I should be able to do that in my diet. That's not really the case. What they're trying to do is a lot of the lean foods. Here's the other thing. The downside here too is Europeans walk everywhere. They go everywhere on their 2 feet. And so, yeah, they can have some processed cheese every now and then. Yeah, they can have that pasta because they know how to make sure that, hey, what goes what goes in has to have a way to go out. And so you have to have that expenditure there. And so they do, I always say you can't eat like Uncle Vinny and think you're going to be able to run like Lolo Jones, right? So that's pretty much, you can't do it. So the next diet up is the DASH and the Flexitarian diet. They're similar in concept, so I'm going to talk about them together. They focus a lot, again, very similar to the Mediterranean, lots of fruits and vegetables, healthy lean meats, and grains. The downside to this particular eating plan, there's a lot of meal prepping involved with this one, and there's a lot of measuring. There's a lot of things that you have to measure out, portions and certain things like that. So you got to get a scale. You got to make sure you're measuring everything with your spoons and your cups and all that kind of stuff. It has its positives, but again, you have to, excuse the pun, weigh the pros and the cons. So that's the DASH and the Flexitarian diet. We're going to skip down to number 8, and Weight Watchers came in at number 8. I know, I was a little surprised about that myself. They rebranded themselves. They're now WW or W2 or what? No, it's not W2 because it sounds like World War II. But anyway, basically they're WW. They rebranded themselves. It's truly a legitimate eating plan. I am particularly fond of this plan because I think it's a fairly easy plan for people to utilize and to work through, especially if you love doing math and you love counting or subtracting. Great plan. You get so many points a day. Once you're out, right? If you do some work, you do some exercise, you get a few more points added to the week. You got some rollover points. So if you kind of ran out of points, but you really want to go eat that meal with your family or whatever, then you just use some of those points that they gave you as kind of leftover points. It inspires kind of a healthy living, good food choices. One of the things they really say is that you can still eat the love it foods. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but their New Year's commercial is bank. They did a phenomenal job with their New Year's commercial. It literally is people in line at a return department or a return counter. And they were like, can I return these New Year's resolutions that don't work? Can I return this, exercise regimen that doesn't work? It's a phenomenal commercial. They did a great job. The pros, it can be nutritionally sound. They've got an app now, so you don't have to go to those meetings and all that hot mess and try to get over there once a week and all that stuff. It's not significantly overpriced. It's a very reasonable cost to do the program. They still have some coaching and some support available, and it does have some proven health benefits. Now, the downside of WW is that it can be unsafe for some individuals. Remember, this is stuff coming from U.S. News. The reason why it can be unsafe for some individuals is because they can't let go of the foods that they love. And so when you get 22 points or 23 points a day and they choose to, drink their Starbucks and then they choose to eat the ding dongs because I don't care if that's my 23, that's what I'm going to eat. It's not nutritionally sound. So the goal, though, is to push for better food choices, but you're always going to have somebody that has that black light bulb that kind of hoovers around and they're like trying to figure out how to work around the system. So that's one of the downsides. The other thing is, the good thing, again, like I said, is there are no more meetings, which is huge, especially for those that don't have a lot of time on their hands and they just want something that's very quick. And again, if you're not somebody that likes to count, you don't like to keep up with that, then it may not be something that you're really wanting to do. Noom actually is coming up in the ranks. It's actually ranked number 11 for 2023, and it works primarily on the mental component of overeating. And it helps the participant to build just better eating habits and weight loss. It uses a platform not just of technology, but human coaching and the psychology of it. The upside, they do provide diverse foods and flavors. It can be very filling because they push a lot of fiber through the plan. It's like the Weight Watchers program in that there are no food limits. So it doesn't tell you can't have this, which some people, when they say here can't, it's like, oh, it's on like Donkey Kong now. You told me I can't, now I have to. And so there are some clear defined plans with recipes. The ugly, well, it does lack some in-depth nutritional guidance, and it could fall short from that perspective. Now, What's interesting is I've had actually a few patients that have come in, and I always talk about, if we're going to talk meds or anything like that, we're going to talk eating plan first. And I have had a few patients that have actually signed up for Noom, and I'm like, well, what do you think? What do you like about it? What you don't? I love to hear that. I like to get feedback from them. And they said it's just a lot of articles to read. They're like, I have a couple of articles every week that I have to read, and they're like, that gets kind of old quick for them. That was the biggest drawback for them. And they said they would have preferred to have more applicable, practical tips that they could have used. So basically, if you're not really a bookworm and you don't like that part of maybe the learning process, then that may be a little counterproductive for you. Jumping down to number 15 and 16, we're going to pair these guys together because they're very similar, are Jenny Craig and Nutrisystem. These guys have been out there forever. They are tried and trues. They do utilize pre-packaged portion control meals. They are very low in calorie, high in fiber, so they work well from that perspective. They do have coaching support available. They did introduce what's called a Max Up plan. And what they did was they actually took intermittent fasting and attached it to their existing plan. And so what they tried to do is they knew intermittent fasting was trending a lot. And so they tried to incorporate that into the plan so that they can continue to, provide the services that they were providing. The upside, it is nutritionally sound. There's a lot of good vitamins and supplements and stuff like that in the foods that they provide. It's a very convenient, it's grab and go. You just pick your food up, you go. It's like a lot of clearly defined boundaries and very good proven health benefits. You know me, I've got the cons too. It's got a little bit of limited choices, especially if you're going to eat out. What do I do? Because there's just a lot of limitations there. There is a little bit of monotony, and that can happen in absolutely any eating plan. But there is a little bit more here because you get to that point where, like, okay, I like this one, but I don't like this one, and I like this one. So you just kind of eat the same things that you like all the time. And again, that could be with any eating plan, but that is one of the things that that U.S. News did show as one of the cons. And then you might wind up being a little bit hangry. So that might wind up being a little bit of a problem for you. Believe it or not, I found this quite interesting. Believe it or not, Paleo, which I call AKA the caveman diet, it actually came in at a number 19 from 2023. It did some dropping quite a few points since 2022. And I can imagine it's only because of the sheer difficulty following the rules, obtaining the whole foods, and removing all the processed products from the plan. In today's society, it's just really, really tough for people to kind of escape from all of the processed foods. And personally, for me, I actually happen to like this eating plan. I have many recipes in the Prep For It 6-week startup program that have a paleo Whole30 kind of mindset. The biggest thing you need to avoid, refined foods like sugars, dairy, no legumes. That includes peanuts. And grains. Think caveman, right? If you can't beat your food or chase it down, then you probably shouldn't be eating it. The pros with this eating plan is that there is absolutely no counting. You do not have to count one thing. There's no calories, no points, nothing like that, right? You just eat. Well, what's the catch? Well, you can only eat whole organic foods. It can be very filling, especially if you have higher protein focus in the diet. Remember, proteins have a very high density molecule, so it does fill you up quicker. And so, the fact that it has a lot of proteins in it that they do tout and push, that actually can be kind of filling for you. Of course, the downside, there is a good bit of meal prepping here. Portion control is always a big issue. You cannot eat like Michael Phelps if you don't swim like Michael Phelps, because you're not going to be in shape like him, okay? So if you eat healthy, but you eat 3,000 calories a day, you are not going to lose weight, okay? So again, you want to make sure that you are portioning control, and this one's no different. Possibly just to get, you could get into a food rut with this one. I think that everybody gets in food ruts. I do believe that. But, this one works. This recipe works for me. I'm going to do this. For instance, we have an egg roll in a bowl. It's in the first week of the Prep For It steps, the 6-week plan. I could eat that egg roll in a bowl several times during the week, but if I kept doing that, I'm definitely going to feel burnout and I may not want to ever eat that again. So, I think sometimes too, what happens is it's a lot to focus on with this particular plan. So I think a lot of people wind up just bailing out before they truly start seeing some substantial results. And unfortunately, this one too can, believe it or not, this freaked me out because I just thought this was so crazy. It can fall short from a nutritional standpoint. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? I mean, these are whole foods. They're organic. I don't understand that. But again, it's because people start eating that food rut and they start eating the same things over and over again, and they're not getting a good, complex, comprehensive diet. So you got to watch that no matter which one, but I just thought that one was very interesting. I will say this. I did the Paleo Whole30 plan a couple of years ago, and I did it for the 4 weeks that they want you to be completely off of everything. Let me tell you something. Mean as a snake that first week. I was like, very mean. And I think that I had a lot of carbs that I had been eating prior to that. And I was purging all those carbs out of my system. And it had nothing to do with the diet. I really think it was just me. I was not happy. Keto, everybody loves keto. Keto came in at number 20. That was a sheer shocker to me because oftentimes when I ask about that eating plan, everybody that comes in, they're like, oh, I'm just doing keto. And I kind of honestly, when somebody tells me that they're doing keto, I internally chuckle. Just so you know, it's like, oh, because most of the time what happens is, why do I think that? I'm not saying that keto is not great. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah, I know it is. I know people have done very well on it, and I applaud them, those that do. But you see, keto works on the premise that you eat a high-fat, low-carb plan, and it aims at losing weight by burning your fat, right? But the premise behind the keto plan, not the Cajun keto plan, the keto plan is that you eat healthy fats like walnuts and avocados and salmon, things like that. It's not, oh, I can have bacon. Oh, I can have cheese. Oh, I can have a hamburger with cheese. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to have a bacon cheeseburger. How's that? That's not the same thing. A lot of people will use that as their keto plan, but in all actuality, it really is focusing on more of the healthier fats. The goal is to fill up quick and to reduce those carb cravings and to get the body in what's called ketosis. So that what it wants to do is it's a state that the body actually doesn't have any other choice but to burn the fats. That spare tire right here, those are the ketones it'll break that down into the ketones that your body relies on for energy when you don't have a carb intake. Now, the pros to the plan are simple, convenient. You can probably eat out fairly easy with the keto plan. I'm going to say loosely health benefits with it. If you are one that does have a desire to kind of work around the system, this plan is going to be perfect for those that try to work around the system. The downside, again, you guessed it, it can lack nutritional basis if you're not disciplined. And normally this eating plan is just the curtain for the wizard. It's just, what goes down will typically come up. You have to have a resolve. And this goes back to what we talked about in the first week. You have to have that resolve in your head that I'm going to do this no matter what. I am going to stick with this, and this is going to be sustainable for me. This plan can also be unsafe for some individuals, and obviously if they're eating a lot of fats and they do have a family history of cholesterol issues or high cholesterol, hypercholesterolemia, things like that, or lipidemia, it is something that could potentially affect that. So everything's kind of starting to sound familiar, right? You're like, Kelly, I just heard that. Kelly, I just heard that. We're getting there. Optavia came in at 21, according to the U.S. News. It is a reformulated MediFast, and it works on an extremely low-calorie intake diet. This eating plan usually is going to be somewhere between 600 and 1,000 calories a day. It's prepackaged food referred to as fuelings. There are 3 optimal plans. There's the 5-in-1, the 4-in-2-in-1, and the 4-in-4. It sounds like football plays to me. I'm like, okay, and 4-in-4, 5-in-1, 5-in-1 plan, 4-4-4-2. I mean, I don't know. It just sounds like I'm calling plays. The foundation of all of these plans is to focus on key micro habits such as weight, eating healthy, hydration, motion, things like that. This plan, I'm going to tell you, this plan works, folks. This plan works. When people follow the plan, they lose an incredible amount of weight. They do it quickly. There is no calorie counting. There's no points. There's a lot of easy grab and go foods, and they do have great coaching support, and it's an outstanding coaching support. The cons to this, you are hangry to start. It can be just overwhelming initially. It can be unsafe for some individuals, again, because they get into that rut, and it can be extremely expensive. I actually tried this one. I told you, I've been there, done that. I've tried them all in this emotional eating journey. And I did try this one several years back, probably around 2013. And I actually lost a good bit of weight on this program. So here's the thing. I had to call my coach back and I had to apologize to her because when I got my 1 month pack of food in the mail, and it came in a box the size of a shoebox, I called her up and I kind of went, oh, heck no. This is not for the entire month, is it? I was really very overwhelmed because I thought I should have gotten more food than that. But what I did was I had to call her back and say, you know what? You were right. I followed your instructions. I ate the stuff in my shoebox and I lost the weight. What I did notice, and this is just a personal thing for me, as soon as I tried to move back to that maintenance, the weight gain became a big factor. So that's something you do have to keep an eye on. If you don't stick with the maintenance plan, the weight will follow you. Now, those are the top 25, and I summarized. I didn't go over every one of the top 25, but I'm going to talk a couple of minutes about some of the ones that did not make the top 25, but a lot of people utilize. Intermittent fasting. It was not on the top 25. I was absolutely dumbfounded that it wasn't. But there's still a lot of individuals that are using this plan, and here's what I say. It works on the premise of providing a period of fasting. It can be 12 hours or 16 hours of fasting. And you have this window of time that you're able to eat certain foods. Okay. The problem with this is that, and it can be very effective, and a lot of people really do well in this, especially those guys that I'm like, I'm just not a breakfast person, Kelly. I don't like eating breakfast. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Then intermittent fasting may be great for you. A problem with this one, and again, with all of the other eating plans that we've talked about before, is here's what they do. They break fast and they go, well, I'm going to eat whatever I want now. And when that happens, you may not be eating nutritionally sound. You may be eating calorie-rich foods. And so the weight loss may be curtailed a good bit. So, the reality is it can be counterproductive if you're not one that can make good, healthy choices on your own. Although this eating plan was not recognized by the U.S. News, just to let you know, prep for it. The 6-week starter program. I'm just going to give you a little wink right there. We do feel like we have significant promise in 2024. What's Eating You, the book that I wrote, I provided 30 entrees and 20 sides for this 6-week program. And in essence, what we tried to do is make it as turnkey as we possibly could. So we have the recipes available for you, as well as a step-by-step guide to get you in and out in the kitchen in 2 hours or less. And I've actually clocked myself, and so that we would not be telling somebody something that was not actually accurate. Now, the upside, you don't really need to count calories. You do need a portion control, but you don't need to count calories. You don't need a sous chef in the kitchen in order to get this done, to work through those weekly recipes. And you will be the envy of everyone in the break room when you warm up that barbacoa or beef for lunch. Okay, so just remember that. Now, on a personal note, the cons could be the prepping steps, which is why the step-by-step instructions are so helpful. So if you're a novice in the kitchen, you're not comfortable being in the kitchen, the Kitchen's Essential 101 video is a must. Just go through it. It can be helpful. For those of you guys that could be on the next Greatest Chef or whatever program, don't look at the video. You're going to be like, I know how to do that already. I know you do. These are for the guys that are novice, okay? But the step-by-step instructions literally tell you, turn on the oven, go get your products to do this, cut this up, do this next. We literally went step-by-step just so that we can make it easier. And hopefully that can be a game changer for you. Time will tell if this one will make it on the top 25 for 2024, right? So, all right. So, Kelly, this is great and all. And I could have looked all of this up on the internet myself, just so you know. I mean, come on already. Which eating plan is the best for me right now? I feel like this is some kind of radio soap opera and the listeners are on the edge of the seats just waiting for the next scene to unfold. And I want to say drum roll, please, but I really want to have that like wah-ha-ha, like type of like diabolical laugh. But the best eating plan for 2023, according to the Hangry Games, is, you guessed it, the one that you are able to follow and sustain for a long-term wellness and weight loss. It's your journey. You need to find it. You could look, let me tell you something. You could do paleo and intermittent fast with a WW plan and drink Octavia shakes with your snacks. I don't care. I don't care. You need to find the plan that you can sustain long term. What can I do for the long haul, for that, for not just a few days or a few weeks or even a few months? What can I live with? What is something that can become a lifestyle for me and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything? What I don't want is for you to spend, you can do a plan and you don't even spend a dime on the plan. Perfect. I don't want you to break the bank though. I think that there are some plans that are a little too pricey and you need to be careful. But I want you to do the plan that works for you. I want you to be able to sustain it. I want you to sink your teeth into it and clamp down on it for the long haul. You don't want to go through the hassle of buying these big plans and doing all these, getting all these resources, taking all these times just to, look at all this information and stuff, only to just do it for about 6 weeks to 8 weeks, and then it's just another book on the shelf in the great room. I am a very big proponent in finding what works for you. And if you love counting, do Weight Watchers. If you don't like breakfast, just consider the intermittent fasting. If you're okay with prepping your meals, try our 6-week prep for it plan in the What's Eating You book to just develop some of those mouth-watering meals that you can eat through the course of the week. The point is, I want you to find out what works for you and a way that you can figure out how to stick with it and that you found most successful in the past. So to wrap up this episode, you know what we're going to do, and that's homework, right? We are going to always be doing some homework and some takeaways. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to go back to the archives of your previous weight loss journeys. What worked, what flopped like a big fish, what was too expensive, what was hard to kind of work through, and find that one. Find the one that you had amazing success with. That's what I did. And a lot of what I found was successful for me was the paleo plan. But I also wanted to make sure that I could have that flair for the flavor in there. And so that's why I over time developed some of these recipes. When you do something like this and you do this takeaway, you're utilizing some of the perception part of the Prep For It steps that are in the book, identifying your perception for weight loss and wellness, the diets that work and don't work, and establishing realistic expectations for yourself. This is going to be the game changer for you, really. So I'm excited. Thank you for just listening in. This was a little bit of a lengthier one, only because we just went over so many different diet plans out there. Again, I don't even like to use the word diet. I think eating plan's really important because diet always sounds like deprivation, and I just don't like it. I literally have a book at work that says the insulin resistance diet, and I scratched the diet word out because I don't want people to think that way. It is an eating plan, and it's an eating plan that I want you to sustain for life. So next week, we're going to talk about the big journey with small steps and what that looks like. And this was truly so much fun. Thanks for hanging with me today. Remember to subscribe to the Hangry Games on Spotify to get more of the Hangry Game episodes. Also, YouTube has the videos. And also check out prepforit.com. We have a lot of free resources there. And until next time, make sure that you layer the flavor. And we're out. I'll talk to you soon.